It's time for Preserving Your Dignity and Your Money, Planning for Successful Aging with Nugen Law. And now your host, J. Bryan Nugen, estate planning and elder law attorney.
Good morning and welcome to Preserving Your Dignity and Your Money, Planning for Successful Aging with Nugen Law. I'm attorney J. Bryan Nugen, founder of Nugen Law and your host for our program. The purpose of our show is to have weekly, in-depth conversations about matters relevant to folks as they walk down the path of successful aging. Our listeners will learn what it is to age with dignity and how best to protect their money. I've been practicing law for 3 decades. I'm licensed to practice in Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, and Florida, and actively represent clients in all 4 states. My practice, the attorneys and our interdisciplinary team of professionals who practice with me concentrate on working with clients in estate planning and elder law and areas related to them, such as estate and trust administration, guardianships, and planning for those with special needs. Today, I have a member of the Nugen Law interdisciplinary team, Brian Grubb, our elder care coordinator, or as we call him, BG. Before we get into asking BG questions, you should know that he has a degree in psychology, licensed social worker, having been licensed for 30 plus years. So, BG, let's please start with explaining to folks what it is that an elder care coordinator does. What do you provide?
Elder care coordinators, basically, they provide referrals, resources for individuals that our law firm is working with. I give people information, share all sorts of things with them. I do assessments in their homes. I spend most of the time actually with them at their homes, not in the actual law office, but in their homes, wherever that may be. But I help with advocating for them. I'm a liaison between them and agencies, services. So I help people just really with so many different things. It's hard to narrow down. But really it's based upon the individual need. So. All
right. So it's unique, bespoke to each client with which with whom you're working and what they need, meeting them where they are, yes, and making sure that they have services appropriate for them to preserve that dignity. Yep. Keep them in their home, typically, as long as possible. And if you need to think about a different location, that's fine. But really, what services can we provide to keep you as independent as possible for as long as possible? And if that's no longer a reality, doesn't make sense any longer, you might look at other facilities, assisted living facilities, nursing homes, and memory care units, etc.
Yep.
What drew you to the field, BG?
Really, I initially was going to do forestry at the University of Arizona, and then I was going to be an engineer. But really what drew me to the field was just I realized about myself that I really enjoy working with people and serving people. And so my sister, when I was younger, had a lot of health and mental health issues, and I just started getting interested in ways that I could help with that.
And so you're getting your degree in psychology and then becoming licensed as a social worker. It stemmed from that, even as a child.
Yeah. I remember taking an actual high school class in psychology, and it just interested me. People interest me, and I just have a knack for meeting people and talking.
When first we met, you were using your talents in a different capacity, but you said to me, one of the struggles that I'm having is that I've risen through the ranks so high, I'm actually not having that direct contact with my clients, and I'm missing it. And I really liked hearing that. Yeah. And I do appreciate, BG, our clients that reach out to us and let me know what a nice man you are and how knowledgeable you are and the confidence you gave them in the decisions that they were making for themselves and other loved ones through that process. So I know that you are impacting people in a successful way with your Nugen Law clients for sure, and I'm sure you were helping with those folks before coming to Nugen Law, but we sincerely appreciate you having you as part of the team.
Thank you.
So as an elder care coordinator, how do you work with the attorneys and the other team members at Nugen Law?
A lot of it is just communication. I always keep in touch with the team. We have a weekly meeting where I'm informing the attorneys and the other team members, like what's going on with the individuals. A lot of times the attorneys are telling me things that possibly when they first meet with the clients, what their needs may be, or just identifying some things early on. So a lot of what I'm doing is just kind of working with attorneys to help with processes if somebody's applying for a Medicaid or Medicaid waiver process, I might be helping an individual who's struggling with getting documents. But really, with all the team members, especially the benefits coordinator and the attorneys, I'm just communicating with what's going on and what kind of things need to be done, and helpful in any of those kind of ways.
So, as you know, BG, Nugen Law is regularly working with clients to protect their assets, right? That's the money side part of it, typically by using very unique types of trusts, asset protection trusts, such that our clients may become eligible for public benefits. Our listeners have probably heard us talk about these trusts in past broadcasts. If not, please tune in for future broadcasts, and we'll talk about those trusts again, I'm sure. So, BG, as an elder care coordinator, you're commonly called upon for direction as to what public benefits may be available to clients with assets that have been protected, or for those who may already be eligible for benefits due to limited resources and income. So what are public benefits? We hear about waiver services. We hear about institutional Medicaid. We hear about Medicaid paying for medical care. Let's start with the benefits typically that you're looking for your clients that you work with at Nugen Law.
Yeah, I do a lot of work with the Medicaid waiver, and the waiver is a program through the state of Indiana. It's actually in most every state, I believe. Aging in-Home Services is the one that's kind of administrators of that program. So a lot of times I'll be helping people get that benefit, not necessarily the benefit, but the process of the benefit. So helping them with the pre-screening process, helping them with the in-home screen. I'll help with all those types of things, and actually just keeping up with it. And it's really a kind of a complicated process, so I'm helping explain it, helping people be patient through the process. One time recently where a family did not make it through the pre-screening process, I helped them get another pre-screen and in-home screening and help them actually pass that screening because they really weren't answering the questions in a totally honest way. They were...
So your experience with that client has been an experience I've had with a lot of my clients as well. They're very proud.
Yes.
They don't want to share the issues that they're having. They don't want to talk about, oh, yes, I had a fall, or I had issues in the restroom, or I'm not eating like I should be. Yeah. So is that what you're referring to when you say they're not being as honest as they could be? Yes.
They're again, people are proud. They don't want to look like they do need help. Most of the people that we work with are very humble people. I'd say all the people pretty much are very humble about what their needs are. And so when I said that, it's basically people weren't really identifying, the question might be, can you make your bed? Can you clean the kitchen? Okay, yeah, I can do it. Well, the true answer is I can do it, but it takes me all week, or it takes me 6 hours to make my bed.
Right.
So
I recall my grandmother being interviewed for something, and she, when I sat in that interview, she was a Wonder Woman. She was doing everything. She was preparing her meals and bathing independently, and that's not the grandma that I knew. Yeah. But that's the grandma that she shared with her interviewer. Yeah. So I hear what you're saying. It strikes close to home as well.
Yeah.
Now, so those waiver services to those public benefits programs. Now, not all of your clients are on waiver services, are Medicaid recipients.
No.
So a Nugen Law client could be working with you that wasn't necessarily interested in receiving public benefits, that wasn't necessarily interested in looking to see what Aging in Home Services may line up for them, or other agencies may line up for them. Are you still a good fit for those clients that aren't so concerned about using those public benefits?
Yes, because the same information applies. I mean, it's just additional information if they're applying for a different public benefit, Medicaid or Medicaid waiver. But if somebody needed home health care, like, for example, we had a family that I first met them when they're the wife or woman of the household, she fell, broke her pelvis, and so she was in a nursing facility. They didn't have waiver or Medicaid at that time, but she needed some home health care. So I helped them kind of identify a few agencies that might be helpful to them. I can go by, word of mouth, which I don't really like. I like experience. So like I like to know something about a company. So I identified a few agencies for them and then helped them get that before they had any other kinds of services. It may be like, hey, maybe we can get some grab bars installed. Oh, you know what? It'd be really smart to have a medical alert for you, those kind of things. So you don't have to have those kind of additional benefits, public benefits, to do those kind of things. So, yeah, I would help people wherever they're at, whatever their needs are.
Excellent. So let's talk about costs for your services for just a moment. Normally, you're not called upon in the office to speak with clients about costs, but it's a question that always arises. What I will say to our listeners is that if they are using services of our elder care coordinator, or generally any of the services in the firm, they're flat fee value-based billings, so that you would have an annual cost if they work with you one time a day, one time a week, one time a quarter, multiple times per week. It's the same cost. Right. We're not tracking our time. We are not basing our services that we're providing. In another world, when I used to do litigation in my practice, I don't do that so much anymore, but I would track all of my time in tenths of an hour. So my life was ruled by 6-minute increments. Yeah. 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, multiply by my hourly billing rate, and every time a client called, I charged them 0.1, 0.2, or if I spoke with them in a meeting, I would charge them for that time. But this type of service is value-based. It's flat fee-based, one time per year that they would be paying for that service, and so they can use you as often as they would like, or in a limited capacity. Yeah. Have you seen folks taking advantage of that? And do they like having that type of a financial arrangement with a law firm?
Yes, absolutely. A lot of people, depends on the person's needs. I mean, I see some people, depend on the situation and the timing. I may see some people daily for a week or whatever, depend. If they're moving into a facility or in the hospital, I'll go visit them in the hospital. So I might make that trip down to Parkview or wherever we're going to go to. It doesn't really matter. So some people, maybe I might see them once a week or once a month, depends on what it is. Also, I got to say that there's a lot of times where I have to remind them. They'll ask me questions. When they get to know me, they ask me all sorts of questions, and I have to refer them and say, that's a law question. Mm-hmm. You need to call Brian, or you need to call Tracy, or you need to call Jesslyn. Ask them that question, because they think I know everything, right. And I don't. I just make sure that they know it's not going to cost you anything. Right. So I think a lot of people hesitate sometimes because they're worried that they're going to get an additional charge. It's like, no, this is a flat fee. We want, if you do call, whatever, let me help you make some questions up for them so that we get this, we want to be wise with their time as well as your time.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good point that you make, is if they're working with the attorney, or they're working with our elder care coordinator, or we have a CPA on staff, benefits coordinator on staff, any of those folks, their pricing doesn't change. It's a fixed value-based flat fee service for the year. So thank you for talking about that. What types of services could one expect to receive if they're hiring you independently, or if they're qualified for waiver services? What types of services might they be looking for, and that you could arrange and coordinate for them?
Well, it could be home health care. It could be anything having to do with, again, staying at home. That would be a primary goal. Or health. I might be asked to go to a physician's meeting, a doctor's appointments, those kind of things, which I would do all those kind of things. Again, advocating, going to their plan meetings, identifying needs. A lot of times family members will bring things up to me, and I'll help with that. So I might go to their home and say, hey, meet with the family there, or meet with just the client, and identify maybe they have some needs that you didn't think about. Mm-hmm. And that happens actually quite often.
Sure it does. Yeah, I think back to your earlier point, people are so proud. Mm-hmm. And want to remain independent, and sometimes to their detriment, right?
Yes.
Just a little bit of help, frankly, I've found, can keep folks at home significantly longer.
Yes.
The sad situation is where the client really is refusing any assistance. And then there's a crisis that happens.
Yeah.
And then we're forced to come in. And really, had they reached out to us just a little bit earlier, we could have arranged for, coordinated some care in the home, et cetera.
Well, and quality of life, I think, is a big deal.
That's the key.
Yeah,
right?
Just some folks just making sure that they have what they need at home can change so much for them. Whether it's a CapTel phone or a hearing aid that connects to another device when an individual's talking, medical alerts, all those things can help with quality of life and maybe prevent further decline.
So, we spoke before about different services, and we're giving all these hard details, but I'm going to give a couple of other examples. We had a client that had lost their Social Security card, and you assisted in arranging for replacement of the Social Security card.
Yeah.
Why don't you explain to our listeners, we had a client that wanted to take, in essence, a last travel to go see their family.
Yeah, that was still in my heart one of the nicest things I've helped with. Had a lady that was in a memory care, and she was not early stages, but little further on stage, memory decline. And her son, who lived in another state, wanted her to come home, and maybe for her last trip, and this was down to Georgia. Well, when I met with her, she didn't have, and this was upon discovery, she didn't have a valid ID. The state of Indiana doesn't allow you to go from a driver's license to just a picture ID. So I had to take her to the BMV 3 different times because they lost her replacement ID, but to actually take the time to do that. So I took her from her facility to the BMV, helped her with signing, did all that stuff. It was very touching for me just because I don't know for sure, but it probably will be her last trip home. And it was significant not only to her, but to her son. So, yeah.
And so did you arrange for that flight home then?
Yes, I took care of that, arranged for a concierge at the airport, arranged for that whole process to take place, how she was going to get back and all that. So, yeah.
So you were able to coordinate that for the family?
Yes.
And I'm sure that was much appreciated by everyone.
Oh, yeah.
The client and the family.
Yep.
Yeah. Good for you. So how do you make clients aware of services that are available to them in the community? What do you draw upon to do that?
What I draw upon really is just about 45 years of experience in social work. So I have I've worked with a lot of different populations, seniors, serious mental illness, addictions. So I have a lot of resource information in my head. Still learning. I don't think it ever ends. But I draw on those kind of that knowledge that I have, and I just never am afraid to ask a question or reach out. I'm working with somebody right now that may need some additional type of accommodations at a facility. They're thinking about moving to a different facility. So, hey, can call the facility, contact the social worker there. Is this something we could do? Mm-hmm. So I'm constantly asking questions, reaching out to whoever I know. I'm a connector. And I really enjoy connecting with people. In fact, after we get done today, I'm going to meet with a new person about another subject of death and dying. So,
well, that's an interesting topic, BG. So, if your client passes, how is it that you're working with the family of the client to make sure that they understand the grieving process, they understand what that is, and what resources are available to them in the community?
So I always try to connect people no matter what. I just give them information. A lot of people have a hard time. In fact, I met with a family recently where the mom just died of this woman. Her dad is still in a facility. And actually kind of a cool thing, I'm trying to help him get out of the nursing facility to go to an assisted living. So I'm going from a higher level care to a lower level care. But informing...
And you identified that for your client.
Yes, I identified that, brought it up, and I'm pushing for it. I want this person to have a better life. But the grieving process, I always want to make sure that people know what resources there are in the community. Hospice, many of the hospice agencies offer grief counseling. But also, there's a lot of things that happen after that. In fact, we're going to do a presentation soon. At the end of this month for our clients that we're going to talk about what to do after somebody dies, not just before, because a lot of times even people aren't very good at planning for death, but afterwards they're lost. They don't know what to do. There's so many things to do. So
you said something about a presentation at the end of this month. So at Nugen Law, we those folks that are our current clients or are part of something called a membership renewal program, that are part of our renewal program, they're invited to educational events throughout the course of the year. The first one this year happens to be with dealing with grief and death and dying, etc. But those are things that our clients are regularly participating as well. And back to no additional cost. So they can participate in those events without any additional cost. That's just something that we find very important for our people to really understand what it is to age, understand what's available to you. It always breaks my heart when I hear people tell me after the fact, oh, I wish I would have known this resource was available to me. Yeah. I wish I would have known when mom was becoming ill that we had someone like an elder care coordinator with whom we could have been speaking. Yeah. How do you get the word out? So that's one of the reasons for the show is to make sure that people understand what services are out there, how Nugen Law works with them, how folks like our attorneys, elder care coordinator, et cetera, work with those clients so that they can have a very successful aging process, aging with dignity, and protecting their money.
And let me add, this week I'm going to go to had a family member who passed away, a husband of a wife, and I'm going to go help her with a memorial thing that she's doing. She's asked me if I would participate with her. So even when people pass, I reach out to the family members. In fact, I sent a few emails, texts to some of the family members who had loved ones that passed this last year. So afterwards, I'm there for them. I just keep in touch with them. In fact, I went to lunch with a lady the other day that we serve. That she said it was the first time after her husband died that she'd actually been out with anybody.
Oh,
and it would touch my heart because she felt like she would go with me. So.
Yeah, what a compliment to you and what we do. That's a huge compliment. That moves me. Thank you for sharing. I hadn't heard that. Thank you for sharing that. Mm-hmm. And even the fact that the widow was asking you to participate with her in funeral services for her husband. Yeah. So back to your earlier point about becoming a friend of theirs and them trusting you and having that confidence in you, that to me, BG, is a compliment as well to what we do. Some of the end of life decisions and planning for the services, huge compliment. Yeah, you talked about your client transitioning from a nursing home to an assisted living facility. Now, that's not something that happens daily. No. But what is it that you saw in that client of yours where you thought, wait a minute, you're in a location that is you're not ready for yet. You aren't to that point where you need this level of service. What did you identify and what was the process for that?
Well, really, this was a situation where the husband and wife were living in a nursing facility. They were living in a regular part, and then the wife kept falling, so they moved both of them to a memory care part of the thing, which neither one of them really needed, but it was a safety issue. So they were going to get more kind of closer care back in the memory care. So really what prompted me is after his wife passed, I saw him at the facility, and I just said to him, or asked him, is this the way you want to end your life? Do you want to still be here? What are they doing for you? And he told me, he said, well, they give me some medicine. And he had to meet criteria to be there in the first place, right? So it wasn't that he wasn't there unnecessarily. But he had a lot of health issues when he went in, and those health issues, he had some cancer and some things that were going on that were better. So he was in a better spot. So for me, in my heart, it was more like he's living in this place where all these people are not functioning at the level that he is functioning, and that's his wife just died there. Mm-hmm. That's a daily reminder for him. Mm-hmm. And it was in my heart to just ask him. I didn't know if his daughter would go along with it. Because, again, there's the thing about convenience. She lives it's like 5 minutes away from it. So I talked to her. I'm like, hey, this is what I see. And I'm just going to be honest. I don't believe that he really needs to be here. What do you think? And so she agreed. We've met a couple of different times. We're going to meet again. Actually, tomorrow I'm going to go to the care plan meeting. Well, not the care plan meeting, but the assessment at the facility. So that process, going from a facility down to, it's like a step down. Mm-hmm. But because he's
a step down in level of care,
yes.
Not a step down in quality.
Yeah, no, we are hoping that the quality of his life shoots up tremendously. You know, he's going to be able to socialize. He's going to be around people that are functioning at what he's functioning at. I go into facilities every day, and it's rough. You know, because there are people in there that it's just sad, really, frankly. Sure. But I want him to have a better life.
Great.
So,
well, thanks to you for putting that together. I'm sure he and his daughter appreciate that energy. I've sometimes heard clients say that, you know, if I'm getting public benefits, I'm not paying for this privately. My level of care is going to be different. It'll be substandard. Mm-hmm. Has that been your experience?
Not at all. Really. The only people that really know that are the people in billing that know that. So the providers of care, the people that are doing the hands-on stuff, the people that are making the difference are serving people the exact same way as they would serve anybody. So that, to me, is an unfounded belief. I think people in their head, when they think about that, they don't go to that next step and say, who's providing that care? Those caregivers, the people that are loving your person every day, showing them, helping them with whatever they need help, they don't know, and they could care less about that. Mm-hmm. So, no, I've never seen any difference in care.
And when do you normally want to meet your clients? Is there a time that in their as they're walking through life that is it better to meet them sooner? Is it better to meet them later? When do you normally want to begin working with your clients?
Well, I like starting to work with them right away, but I also think for them, I think the main thing is just like as part of the life care planning is that let's get on life wherever you're at in that stage of life. So the sooner we start talking, the sooner you can understand what I can do for you and help you, even sometimes in just the smallest of ways. That helps promote our relationship. So I think the sooner the better.
Fantastic. Well, thanks, BG. Our time is up today. If somebody would like to speak with you as an elder care coordinator, reach out to Nugen Law. They can reach you at 260-925-3738. We have offices in both Fort Wayne and Auburn. We service clients in Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, and Florida on a regular basis. If folks prefer to send an email as opposed to calling in, they can email at help, HELP, at nugenlaw.com. That's NUGENLAW.com. I would like to thank you for listening to Preserving Your Dignity and Your Money, Planning for Successful Aging with Nugen Law, and to our guest, Elder Care Coordinator Brian Grubb, or as we call him, BG. I look forward to next weekend, Saturday at 9 a.m. for our next show. Enjoy your weekend.
You've been listening to Preserving Your Dignity and Your Money, Planning for Successful Aging with Nugen Law. For more information, log on to NugenLaw.com or email help@NugenLaw.com. Nothing stated in today's program should be considered as legal advice, should not be considered as having created an attorney-client relationship between show host and guests and any listener. Nugen Law is not liable for anything that happens as a result of a listener relying on provided information as legal advice. The content is for informational purposes only.